this story is of interest to younger people like you, then we're supportive of that. You can do whatever you think is right about this, but you're not righting a wrong here. This is an incredible story that really couldn't have panned out any other way. And to look into the future and say it would be better if this happened with it, or if it gets released, but they have to fix this and all this stuff, you're getting into metaphysical gobbledygook, because nothing will replace the journey that we've been on and remain friends. And we have an opportunity now to sort of talk about it one last time. And you're taking the lead in that. So I would just want to counter phrases like "it's devastating what happened," because no, it isn't. In life and in pumpkin carving, and certainly in psychology, in order to suffer the bad, you have to suffer the good. So the word suffer has a dual meaning. It's not necessarily hurtful and negative. You have to suffer the good as well. And this is good, what we're doing, talking to you about a one-off extraordinary story that occupies a unique place in Hollywood folklore. And there's really, it'll never get better than that, And so this is a nice hallowed interregnum space that we're in now. Because if this first steps had not said, look, we have to do something here, and that led to us being in the movie like that, if they hadn't done that, then it would be nonsensical. It wouldn't really mean anything for us to keep talking about this. It's like if Yvonne Lendl keeps talking about the time that Michael Chang beat him at the French Open, you're going to start thinking that Yvonne Lendl wasn't the number one tennis player for 200 weeks. Okay? Yvonne's a friend of mine. And he would say two things: Alex, shut up. And Alex, thank you.
I also think, I just real quick, I also think too that, people have said this too, that it was almost a blessing for this to happen, right? This whole journey, right? Because if it didn't, it would have been released. People would have said, "Oh, just like the Punisher or Captain America back then, right?" And have the budget and did whatever, right? So, but if you look at two of the other Fantastic Fours, ours is more of an origin story, which is kind of nice. And it's
Well, ours will always be the origin story. They'll never do an origin story of Fantastic Four.
yeah, yeah,
That's completely understood now.
yeah,
What
yeah,
remains to be seen is what they do. Now, there are people far more eloquent than I about the Marvel universe and the expectation there.
yeah.
But what they have, whether this movie makes another dollar globally at the box office, makes no difference to them, because they have legitimized the Fantastic Four. They have validated it as a property, which they now can use. So, it's like having a rental home. It can, even if it goes through a hurricane, it's still there. And fortunately, we went through a good initial release for this film, so they must be happy. But I think the main currency for them, Michael, is that they have succeeded in legitimizing the Fantastic Four.
Agreed.
And so anything they do right now is gravy.
I agree. I agree. I agree.
And we succeeded in, I guess, banishing the Fantastic Four, but it wasn't us. It wasn't us who did it. It was the timing, I think, Anthony, really. In 1994, it was going to be impossible to make a high quality special effects, a high quality, of comic book film that met the special effects expectation. And it was the timing of it. Nothing wrong with the cast, nothing wrong with the execution. But, maybe a few years later, but still, who knows? You get into this conjecture, alternate universe. Let Marvel tell alternate universe stories. We have one, and and it's this one, and it occupies a unique place. And as you can tell, we can talk your ear off about it.
And it's kind of cool that we're just a part of it. I mean, it's kind of like you sometimes pinch yourself going, wow, I can't believe that we actually did something that people are still talking about. Because half the stuff that I've done, people don't ever see again. I'm just teasing. It's kind
Well,
of cool. So it's good.
Michael's had a wonderful career. He's a
Keep up
good professional actor.
I what we've just been talking about does propose a question though. Considering this conversation, considering obviously the new Fantastic Four film, do you think it was the kind of the path that we're on now, where it has been unreleased, that it was in a way bittersweet that it's become better, the fact that it wasn't, and the fact that people are still talking about it now is more rewarding than what it could have been if it did release back in 1994.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the third paragraph in the story. Absolutely.
It's just because I was just thinking, because yeah, if it had released, we might not be having this conversation right now. I wouldn't have had the
Yeah,
opportunity to
well, I
see so
mean,
many
look,
amazing people.
this movie started out as a shotgun marriage, and it ended up, being banished. And
Waiting
within
for
the
the ugly divorce.
yeah, yeah. And so, after a while, they're going to say, "Hey, that step kid of yours that you banished? What? He just inherited $100 million." You're going to say, "God damn, let's get him on the phone." All of a sudden, people want to know you because you
Yeah.
got something to offer. Because you got something to offer, because you can make their life better. And that's what Marvel did to us. They brought us in because we could make their life better. And as a thank you, they put us in as much and as little as they could. And that never happens. I mean, if you're, like James Gunn's brother
Yeah.
has a spit and a cough in Superman, and all of that stuff, you gotta be a little careful about these nostalgia throwbacks. But maybe we're going through a period of that, and that might be because of two reasons. The people who were kids 30 years ago are now, some of them are making big budget movies, okay, and so they're throwing in their influences, and there's a big nostalgic kick, and so they get take pleasure out of revisiting. I remember the time I first saw Superman. I believed a man who could fly, and now I'm going to direct a movie, and I'm going to put Chris Reeve's son in it because it makes me feel good, and
Yeah.
it's a tip of the cap, and so it's nostalgia. It's more really about them than it is us, and that's fine. You know, when we work, it's because we've gotten a part, we've studied it, we've learned it, we go in and audition it, and by the time we get to the set, we're in a sort of release mode. We're in a calm together mode. This was not really an acting job. This was a job that basically wanted us as people, and they
Yeah.
didn't know what they were going to do with us. And so again, the the uniqueness of our contribution to first steps is inseparable from our attachment to the original ill-fated movie. You know,
I I find it wonderful. When those words so well articulated, it blows my mind. Sorry, I could listen to that constantly. But I really do think I don't know if you guys saw the interview with the director of First Steps, obviously Matt
I haven't.
Shakman, who he did turn around and he was speaking about obviously the 1994 film.
Did he
And
really?
yeah, his exact quote was that he was bummed that it was never released. Um,
Okay.
so when you just said about the fact that, these kids who grew up and now obviously they're adults and things are directing these big blockbuster movies, it makes me think, Matt Shakman thought, well, I loved that film. I was bummed it didn't come out. I love that film. I want to honor you guys. And that's what he did. And, he brought you into the movie. He didn't bring, Reed Richards or Ben Grimm. He brought Alex and Michael, and they are in these roles, and it's really lovely to see. I mean, we were speaking about earlier, Michael and I were speaking about Michael's cameo on his hard hat. It says "I be Stone," and I think that's so brilliant.
Oh,
Because it's
yes.
it's there's little winks. Because we spoke about last time, obviously, you
Yes.
had that
Clever.
voiceover moving to Mr. Fantastic on the whiteboard. And then I'm
Yes.
starting to think, Jay obviously had that bit where he kind of saluted the
Yeah, it
Human
was a lovely
Torch.
bit. Matt gave him that. Yeah, yeah. I was sitting, Matt said, Alex, come and sit by the in the circus video village. So I brought my son, we were watching. They did the first take, and Michael looked over and I go, no, 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 hug him, hug him. And Michael said, no. You see Michael, he's all moo.
I
It's a
know.
lovely bit. It's a lovely bit, you know. Look, it's like the movie itself. Our bits in First Step get better every time you look at it. They get better with age, and that's what we're doing. That might be my curse as an actor is how was his performance? Ah, it was okay, but 30 years from now you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
I was telling Michael as well that I actually contacted everybody before First Steps came out. So I was contacting you because I said to Michael because he was the first person I did message, which I will tell because I'm sure it'll come out. I was watching the film and I realized that I had this platform and I thought to myself, well, I'm gonna contact everybody. I'm gonna find everybody that I can contact and get in touch with the people that I have access to get in touch with. Um, and obviously this is what's come from it. And it's that beauty of like I keep, when I mention the community and the fans, like you guys are saying, the kids that watched it are now older and they now have these platforms. When it came out, I wasn't even a thought. Like I mean I'm
Well, you've made up
24
for it. You've made up for it since.
and I
Well,
appreciate that.
the other thing too is that Alex, you wanted to talk to both of us, and Alex says, I think we should wait a little bit. So, because we knew what we had done, and we wanted to wait till
Oh yeah,
after.
no, 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 you can't. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They
we
wanted
wanted to
me to.
wait till after.
We were asked not to talk about it.
And I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I really do. And
Yeah,
it does make
I don't
sense.
think we should talk. I still don't think we should talk about it that much. It's you know, it's nice if Anthony wants to put together a multicast story, then that's going to be something that other things should be compared to.
My main aim is to get the word out there. I want it to be appreciated for what it was. I personally, this is personally what I want. I don't, well, I would like, not I want. I don't like saying I want. I would like is in an ideal world, I don't want it to be technically enhanced. I don't want it to be all, I'd like it to stay exactly how it is from what it was in 1994 because I don't, there's things obviously they'll probably do because that's what they do, but leave it how
No,
it
not
is.
necessarily.
It's gorgeous. It's beautiful how it is. Like I said, it's like it's been teared from a comic book page. I loved um I love the Lee and Kirby run, I love the John Bryan run. I love all these runs of the Fantastic Four. And for me personally, the team has always been a team that I look up to. They're a family. They've all shared this accident in a sense, and I have to learn how to live with these powers. And Ben's always had that side where, he hates what happened to him. And, Reed wants to cure him, he wants to solve everything, because he's a genius and it frustrates him that he can't help his best friend. And it's just so the stories are so entwined that with F494, it's that place where I go and watch a comic book film. There's no agenda behind it. There's no, this is this. It's you know be fantastic in a sense. You've been given these gifts, not a curse. You've been given a gift, and you can use them for good. I think with the character's name as Doctor Doom, they're beating Doom. I think that's it's a big
Yeah, no,
metaphor.
there. Yeah, yeah.
But that
It was a clever era. It was a very clever era. There was a lot going on in the country, and it was sort of before the Summer of Love and this sort of counterculture revolution. There was an innocence and authenticity to American culture there, and that might be part of the attraction the analog style of living.
Yeah. And obviously First Steps was retro futuristic. It was set in the
It was
60s.
very clever to do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was very much, this
No,
is,
they
yeah,
very
sorry.
smart people, very smart people were behind the big decisions on this film. No doubt about it.
And one thing I absolutely loved, which I realized on my second viewing of the film, was Yancey Street isn't retro futuristic. It is just retro. There's no futuristic elements of it. And I think that was it's a detail that you notice when you watch it the second time around, because you think, you see this bit where, the Fantastic car in itself being this, futuristic looking, wing tipped car. And I love that car. But
Yeah, good point. Yeah, good point.
but then Yancey Street, there's a VW Beetle that obviously Ben lifts up, and it didn't click with me until the second view when I went, that's not future, that's just retro. There's no futuristic elements. There's not a train that's from the wrong way around and things like this. It's, there's a school with gates. It's very, I don't want to say simplistic, but it's very minimalistic.
Yeah, it's
I'm gonna
East,
say,
it's
yeah,
New York. It's downtown. It's East Village. Yeah.
yeah, and
They mix a lot of future. They mix the future and retro together. Even
yeah,
look at the from a technical aspect when it comes to Reed Richards, his computers and things like that. He's using a good old chalkboard while he has all
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
computers. And even the computer monitors are a bit retro, but they show, either go off in this space, and beyond moon and out to another planet, use a wormhole to get out. I mean, but they're still got VWs and things like
Uh-huh.
that. So it's a mixture of high tech and then, and low tech. So
Made it all very approachable and
yeah, it did.
understandable. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
did.
That's a good
because
point.
yeah, and I think the best thing with the Yancey Street is, as like, obviously like a massive Fantastic Four fan, is it's Ben Grimm's home street in a sense. That's where he grew up on. He grew up on Yancey Street. So having that VW Beetle, everybody recognizes a VW Beetle. So in my eyes, it's that homely comfort in a sense in this retro
Hmm.
futuristic world
Hmm.
where the fans are like, wow, this world's blowing me away. There's like you said in Reed's lab, there's all these computers, and he's on the chalkboard. But Ben goes down to his street, and anytime he ever goes to Yancey Street as well, he's by himself. He's never with the other four. I have noticed that as well. And he's at home there, and I feel like with the audience, they feel like they could also be at home there because that's the comfortable area. Did he get cookies from like a shop that he used to go to as a kid?
Yep.
Yeah.
You think
It's
of
a bakery
cookies,
named
yeah.
after Matt's daughter.
There we go. I
And
didn't know that. That's a nice
did
fact
you
as well.
notice there's a part where Ben is walking through the alley and those guys come back and, run the other way. And he's kind of by himself. He's kind of hiding himself and things like that. That's a little bit of almost an ode to our film.
Yeah, you did that, or Carl did that. Yeah.
Yeah, Carl did that. So the whole thing of walking alone and being shunned. Okay, but
Got the garbage. Do the dishes. Man. Hey, buddy, you can't be hanging around back here.
I'm not looking for trouble.
I'm not looking to give any, man. Look, you gotta move, all right? Get walking.
Look, all I want is just to play.
I don't care what you want. What are you, man? What are you?
I've got time for one more pulse. I've got a tennis game in a few, so I can give you one more scene.
Well, I appreciate that.
It.
But yeah, with cookies, that they're warm. That's what I was saying with the Yancey Street. He gets cookies. They're a warm feeling. You think of cookies, you think of
Yes,
fresh out the oven. You think of like your mum's cooking cookies.
yeah.
They're nice and warm
It
on
was
the
a
plate.
very, it was a very tight film, and there was no fat in it, but it had a subliminal familiarity to it that was very warm, like you say, very warm, and little touches. When you see those, like Michael was just saying, the interior of Reed's workspace with it looks like those old Commodore 64 computers.
yep, yep.
That's a great juxtaposition, because one thing that they've never done well, except maybe for the couple of the Fox movies in the mid 2000s, I would think that the original comic series, and certainly our film, they don't overwhelm you with science.
No.
And, quite often people, storytellers can get caught up in the techno pop of it, and that would not have served this well. This is not a gizmo kind of movie. It's, and when it says, yeah, that was an egg. You moved it 6 feet. And go, yeah, but it's the same thing. It's Archimedes' lever. It can move the whole planet. Okay. Well, when you think about that, and they're building, they don't go into explanation as to where they decide to build the thing. It's on the meridian. They got 2 hours to tell this movie. They show you the egg, and 30 minutes later, they got a bigger egg, and it doesn't happen. Okay. Go with it. It's like the comic. You turn the page and you're there. You don't need proof. So it's a wonderful thing for an audience, I think, when they're reading or listening or watching, to not have to say to themselves, that isn't right, or I don't believe that. They didn't prove that. And this film was all about letting the audience in without them having to be challenged with science, and yet it was all very logical. I mean, it's a simple plot, and again, I think the construction of this was really solid. And then it allowed Matt and those others. He must have a big team, and they must have a big team over there who come up with these Easter eggs. Yeah. Oh, this would be cool. This would be cool. And then make sure you don't nerd out and have too many homecoming flags. Just, do the right thing. And they just got the mix. I think it's all about balance. It's about building the machine. And then when it's all built and structurally sound, don't over decorate it,
And obviously John Malkovich was meant to be in the film. But obviously they cut his scene or scenes. I don't know. But in my thoughts, like you just said, there was no fat. There was no pointlessness in the film. There was just straight to the point.
Yeah. I read about that. I think it was a logic thing that would have been one of the things that said that's not right, because maybe he's specific to another place and another time.
Yeah.
But they tried it, and he was funny. I know Gary Sinise through the years fairly well, and I'd never met Malkovich. They started the Steppenwolf Theater Company from Gary's dad's basement, like 40 years ago, and Gary's a good guy. And so Malkovich was there finishing up his bits when we were there, and they worked him early. He was all dressed up like a shilling dinner as a madman. And he comes out of his trailer, and I go and say hi, and I introduced him to my son, and I said, were you over in London? He goes, yeah. I says, how was that? And he goes, my son does a good impersonation. It was an interesting experience.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But no, it's again, though, when you said about the fat, and when you said about them making it just so, you had a scene where Reed would swing through scaffolding and then kick a chimpanzee. You don't need to learn more about that. If you want to learn,
it was Tarzan. It was Tarzan.
Yeah. It was just a moment that happened during the montage, and I loved that as well, because it felt like you were with this family for longer than you were. Because the 2 hours that you were with them, it felt, well, the story. It's like, well, yeah, if you watch the Fantastic Four films, if you've seen the Fantastic Four, you do know the story. But here it is anyway for people that don't know it. But here it is in a very condensed version.
They did the greatest hits, a sort of recap. Yeah.
And it worked. And go, Michael.
But sorry. I think we're proud to have the origin story, and it's fun, and we still get to bask in the accidental miracle that we pulled it off.
Yeah, and in watching it a second time, it really kind of hits you that this new film, the star of this is, I think, Vanessa and her character. I mean, it's about a mother and a mother's love for her child and for her family, and that, well, she'll do anything to protect it. I mean, the whole thing where she's doing that force field thing and pushing Galactus back and all that. I mean, she's going to do it. Even Reed Richards goes, what are you doing? You can't keep doing that. And she doesn't matter. She's going to die for her baby, protecting her family. And so that's what's really cool about it. So it's
unexpected. Yeah, absolutely.
And even the part where she comes out and gives that speech about
Yes.
family and her baby. That's a brilliantly written scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a good.
Yeah.
But again, that's all you get of that. That's the
Yep.
plot. That's that scene
Yep.
for the plot. Now you move forward,
Yep.
and to me, I mean, I'm always a sucker for happy endings. By the time Franklin revives her at the end, that was, to me, it was a surprise. When you think about it, the whole story was leading up to that, but it was just a nice discovery moment for me. I'm a sucker for movies. I don't, I never really understand what's going on, and then you see it, and then comes all together. And that's why Christopher Nolan movies, as wonderful as they are, I never know what the hell they're about, but they're wonderful. This
Yeah.
one's going to be this one's the Odyssey coming up, so that'll be okay.
Yeah.
Tenant really got me. I was really confused during that.
Tenet got me when I was on Nope with Hoyt Van Temme, who's Nolan's DP. I was a couple days on Jordan Peele's movie, and Van Temme on the halfway through the first day, we were shooting in like 60 mil film cans, so they were changing the film cans every like 5 minutes because it just speeds through. And I said to him, "You shot Tenet, right?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Fuck." He goes, "What?" I go, "Fuck." Yeah. I said, "They say that movie plays just as good back to front as it does." He goes, "Yeah, I could see that. Imagine making those movies. I mean, my Lord, incredible." And you see the fights, and then later you see the fight in backwards. It's like, whoa. And these guys don't even have cell phones, Jonathan and Chris, when they write these things. They don't have cell phones, and they don't do magic mushrooms. They must be like Edgar Allan Poe fans or something, because they're incredible thematic storytellers. And they put it on, again, Memento is another film. It's like ours. It's been around for 40 years, yet nobody knows what the hell that movie's about. I mean, until, again, it's incredible. You have to see it so many times to understand what matters to the filmmaker. And our movie, for First Steps, is a little bit like that because it's so chock-a-block with Easter eggs, I suppose. But when we saw it on that lovely day where they entertained us, that had been, 2 or 3 months in the making at the premiere, I enjoyed watching the film, but I didn't really take it in. It was such a fantastic moment. They had the Philharmonic. They had a carton of popcorn and a water underneath the seats. We were amongst friends. It was like at a party. And then at the end, you realize, you see, who was that? That was Mozart playing. You go, "Oh my God, that was Mozart! I wish I would have known." And then when I went to see it properly as a fan in the cinema, I thoroughly enjoyed what they offered. It was something. So it's that kind of movie. When a movie can bear repeating, we all have films that are in our past. Last of the Mohicans would be one for me. Even a film, Patriot Games. If 20 minutes of Patriot Games are on in between commercials, I'll watch it. It's just a wonderful time capsule of that period in London, which is my favorite city, and all that bit. So
That's a good
keeping it
selection.
alive, Anthony.
Mine are Shawshank Redemption.
Yes.
It's Aliens 2, which I love. I know Mark Ralston is a friend of mine, so he's a good friend.
Yes, I know Mark.
Yeah, so him, and there's a couple of, but that's Shawshank. If it's in the middle, I'll watch it. So yeah, this is
I
great.
saw Mark. He was out at the Pensacon convention last year. I knew him a bit in England when we were getting started.
Yeah, we did a movie together called Best of the Best 3. We shot that in Bedford, Indiana. That place is crazy. And then
Indiana.
and then we moved from there to Jackson, Ohio, and shot in those two areas. So it was pretty cool. Got to know him pretty well.
I
was
good.
Yeah, so good memory.
I met him at Liverpool Comic Con when they did
Oh, yeah.
They
Oh,
did an
good.
aliens thing, and I went there. This was early. This was May. So this was early days of
Good.
heroic conversations, and I took leaflets with me to hand out to people when I met them. So I met people,
Good.
photos and autographs. I didn't hand them a
Good.
leaflet because I was so nervous.
Yeah. He had an English wife for a long time, Mark did.
Yeah.
And he's such a nice guy as well. Like
Yeah,
he was so
yeah.
welcoming.
after that movie we played we would go play golf. Me, Arlie Ermy, Chris McDonald, the one that's in whatever
Yeah.
uh, Shooter,
Hmm.
that Chris
Hmm.
McDonald,
Yep.
and
Yep.
him, yeah, so it's great. It
That
was
is
good.
awesome. I love stuff
And
like that.
Arlie Ermy would walk out there with knickers, the hat, the whole situation, like he was in the 30s golfing. I'm like, oh my God. So good man.
That's brilliant. No, I do have to ask though, was Shooter McGavin good at golf? 'Cause
Oh,
that's
he
who he
was.
plays, isn't it?
Yeah, we rode in the car together. Yeah, he was good. Yeah, he
Oh
was
yeah,
good.
Chris is a good guy. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I love that. No, but no,
All right, laddie.
yeah,
All right, laddie. I think I'm off.
that's
Okay.
okay. Play
Thanks,
a
Alex.
good game of tennis. I
God
love
bless. Yeah,
tennis.
thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
But thank you.
Leave. All right. Bye bye. God bless. Thank you for doing
See
this.
you. Love you, big dog.